Dr. Anthony Fauci is under fire as of today like never before. Horrifying images have surfaced over the weekend showing cruel animal experiments purportedly funded by Fauci. In this video, we're going to take a look at that controversy along with NIH officials admitting that U.S. tax dollars were indeed used in gain-of-function research in Wuhan. And stick with me to the very end of this video. We're going to see why the days for Fauci as the nation's COVID czar are indeed coming to an end. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. Before we dive into the fall of Fauci, are you still wondering how I stay so optimistic and why I think Patriots will win and how you can get involved in building back the nation we love of faith, family, and freedom? Well, news for you. In just a few weeks, November 12th and 13th, I'm hosting Patriot Live. It's a virtual event where all patriots should come to learn how to lead your family to freedom without sacrificing your beliefs, values, or God-given rights. Here I'll spend 2 days with you digging into the scholarly evidence for the demise of the left and show you how to fight back in your communities and win. Right now, if you haven't signed up, you've missed our early bird special, but I still want to see you there. So how about you click on the link below right now and get 50% off your tickets. That offer expires on Wednesday, so don't wait. If you're new around here, this is the event to go to get real optimism and know exactly what to say about politics to that aunt of yours this Thanksgiving. So click below in the description to get 50% off tickets now, and I'll see you for a virtual weekend you'll never forget. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. It looks like the days of Dr. Anthony Fauci are coming to an end, at least when it comes to his position as the de facto czar over COVID policies and restrictions. As we speak, there are two major scandals that are blowing up around Fauci. First, it's being widely reported that the National Institutes of Health is now admitting that they did indeed fund gain-of-function research on bats infected with coronaviruses at a lab in Wuhan, despite repeated denials by Fauci that tax dollars were used in gain-of-function research. In a letter to Representative James Comer, ranking member of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform, an NIH official admitted that a, quote, limited experiment was conducted in order to test if spike proteins from naturally occurring bat coronaviruses circulating in China were capable of binding to the human ACE2 receptor in a mouse model. The letter stated that the laboratory mice infected with the modified bat virus did indeed become sicker than mice that were given the unmodified bat virus. And that's the nature of gain and function research. It's a line of research where scientists take viruses and study how they might be modified to become even deadlier or even more transmissible. And you might ask, well, why the heck are they doing that? Well, it's basically playing war games with a virus. Gain-of-function research supposedly helps scientists figure out which viruses threaten people the most so they can design countermeasures. But of course, the risk in all this is that the viruses that are being researched and made all the more deadly and transmissible could possibly spread outside the lab. Back in April, the Wall Street Journal reported that the National Institutes of Health, under the directorship of Fauci, actually funded the Wuhan lab's research through an organization known as the EcoHealth Alliance to the tune of $3.7 million. And now it looks like the NIH is indeed openly admitting this, that they did fund EcoHealth, and EcoHealth in turn funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. Now, of course, the senator who's doing cartwheels as of today is Senator Rand Paul, who's been the lead senatorial investigator into Fauci's dealings with Wuhan. He tweeted out, quote, "I told you so," doesn't even begin to cover it here. In an interview with Axios aired on Sunday, Paul said that he believes that people across the nation are very disturbed at how much Fauci has lied, and he's calling for the immediate firing of Fauci, and he wants a congressional investigation into the precise dealings that NIH had with Wuhan, and specifically what Fauci knew about prior to his testimony to Congress, where he denied under oath that the NIH funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan. In fact, Rand Paul is openly stating that Fauci could actually face upwards of 5 years in prison for lying to Congress. So that's the first major controversy. NIH officials are now contradicting Fauci's denial And they're admitting that tax dollars were used in gain-of-function research in Wuhan. Now, there's a second major controversy that's erupted around Fauci, and that involves very disturbing revelations that Fauci used tax dollars to fund cruel animal experiments. This is going to absolutely sicken you. So for something a little more lighthearted, we do have some brand new Let's Go Brandon shirts that you're going to absolutely love. Check them out by clicking on the link below. They're a limited edition, so they won't be around for long. Make sure to click on the link below. Get one for yourself. Get one for your friends, for your loved ones. We've got some awesome shirts in our merch store. And let's keep that chant going all across the nation. All right. Unfortunately, yes, it's being revealed that Fauci was apparently involved in some pretty gross experiments that involved dogs, beagles being trapped in cages so flies can eat them, and another where the dogs were, quote, debarked before being pumped with drugs and killed. The White Coat Waste Project has just released disturbing images of bizarre research at a Tunisian lab where puppies are seen with their heads trapped in cages before being left for sandflies to eat them alive for research purposes. Apparently, Fauci's National Institutes of Allergies and Infectious Diseases gave that research $375,000 in grant monies. Another $2 million was given for a grizzly experiment where puppies underwent what's called a cordectomy, which involves cutting their vocal cords to stop them from barking before pumping them up with drugs and then summarily killing and dissecting them. And nearly $500,000 was given for a test that involves beagles howling in pain. This involved experiments in Georgia. The revelations were so disturbing that a bipartisan letter was sent to Fauci demanding answers from this investigation by the White Coat Waste Project. Needless to say, the Twitterverse isn't waiting for Fauci's explanation. #ArrestFauci has been trending since Sunday afternoon in response to the multiple controversies piling up around Fauci. It goes without saying that tens of millions of taxpayers do not want a dime of their money spent on such heinous experiments, and they're demanding that Fauci be fired immediately if even a shred of those revelations are true. And so the public seems to be souring on Fauci like never before, especially since the release of those cruel photos over the weekend. And keep in mind, this is all on top of the email scandal that rocked Fauci a few months back, when thousands of private emails from Fauci were released to the Washington Post, CNN, BuzzFeed News, all through the Freedom of Information Act. There were over 3,000 emails dating from January to June of the year 2020, when COVID first reached our shores and developed into this full-blown pandemic. And the emails were in many respects startling. They were startling in terms of what they reveal about the radical discrepancy between what Fauci actually knew about the lab leak theory from the very beginning and what he publicly stated he knew, which is obviously a huge problem for Fauci given that his public statements were under oath. But we now know that as early as January 31st, 2020, Fauci received an email from the head of the nation's largest biomedical research facility warning Fauci that COVID was very possibly engineered, coming from a lab rather than from a so-called wet market in China. So the whole question as to whether COVID was engineered was front and center with Fauci and NIH from the very beginning of the pandemic. But of course, given that NIH funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan, there appears to have been efforts to downplay that origins theory. Now, what comes of this is anyone's guess. We are dealing with the deep state. Fauci's been in D.C. since 1984. He actually advised Ronald Reagan. He's been there for that long. We'll have to see what comes of all of this. But I do believe we are witnessing the fall of Fauci. At the very least, the images of dogs being tortured the way they were is enough for a massive backlash against the technocratic tyrannies and horrors that have been associated with Fauci. And that backlash may indeed spell the end of his deep state tenure once and for all. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video on the colossal fall of another liberal icon, Ellen DeGeneres. You are not going to want to miss this. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.